Bienvenidos!
What's the most important ism you learned this semester?
Adultism. I did adultism, and I felt like we all kind of had a lot of input, since everyone had experienced some type of it with their own parents and throughout life, and we're still experiencing in the choices that we made now while we're students, and I think that's one of the most important one of the most important ones I learned, actually.
Really?
Yeah. What do you think?
Probably the most important one that I learned about would have to be, I gave a talk on racism, and from the Indian population, something maybe we don't even think about. That population, the Native Americans, we maybe focus on too much of the other races when these people, or Hispanic or African American or something like that. When these people are the people way back when we took their land. I mean, we used them as mascots, and we act like it's no big deal.
How do you think leadership kind of ties into that? What do you think someone that is a leader could do about some of the stuff you just talked about?
Well, I think one of the most important things to do is to say something about it. It's so easy just to go with the flow and just fit in and just say, okay, just accept it and say, oh, that's part of life. But taking a stand and saying, you know what, that's not right. And then, but I think more so in leadership is then saying it's not right, but then inspiring others to take action.
Yeah. And with what you just said, I kind of feel that ties into my ism. I would say ageism. I didn't even realize, how big of a deal that was until we brought it up in class and talked about it. And I haven't talked about it all the time, but even just to some of my friends, I kind of brought it to their attention. And, you hear about it all the time, but you don't realize how big of a deal it is. So I feel like it ties into leadership. You really just knowing that it's a problem and sharing it with others and, trying to make a difference.
I thought what you spoke about, like ableism, I just feel like a lot of like the social justice issues we just aren't aware of them because we're not constantly surrounded by them. Like I'm not constantly surrounded by like the deaf population, and I didn't know anything about their culture, but I feel like until we become aware it's there, we kind of learn how to be a leader in that situation.
Is there anything we can do to minimize these isms?
I think just educating people and like making them more aware. Because as we said, most of us didn't even know what these isms were until we like brought them up, and now that we're aware of them, like we don't necessarily speak them out loud if we see them like around campus, but we'll be like, oh, like man, that's racism or classism or whatever. So I think if we like educated our friends, maybe they educate their friends, that could definitely be a start.
I think that would tie up with like leading by example, like actually doing something. And that was one of my questions, like how do you feel as a leader, how do you feel about leading by example? Like do you think it plays a big role? And I think you saying that, it's like the first thing to do is actually look at yourself and be like, how can I make an impact around my surroundings? And then as long as you impact those people around you, you start a chain effect, and that can lead to something bigger.
I think that's important about what you talked about, how like your strengths and how you play out those strengths, and you collaborate with other people's strengths to be able to lead in the best way possible. What are some of y'all's strengths in leadership that help y'all feel like y'all can lead an organization?
What kind of ties along with everything that we've been talking about, I feel like this class and the class that we've had previous to this has done a very well job at like teaching us about everything, and like you were saying, Casey, like the whole education spectrum of that, and like getting the word out to everybody and educating them on that. But I feel like it's awesome that we get to learn on like all of these topics, and we get to learn it specifically, so then we can realize that it's there, but also realize that it happens, like all of them happen at once. Like when we're in a corporation, we're in an organization, two things can be happening at once, not just one. But it's cool that like through these classes we've been able to like dabble in each of them and then see them as specific to go general.
I I think something cool has been also being able to work with others and finding our strengths. For me, like I said in class today, one of my strengths is that I'm very creative and I have a lot of great ideas, but for me sometimes it's hard to get that translated into actual plans and organization. And I'm working with Lauren on our project, and she's one of those girls that she's very organizational and very, very detail oriented. And so I think what's cool is being able to see our strengths come together and form a powerful team. And I think that's neat how different leadership styles can work together.
And I guess that I would say that was the second leadership strength that I had put on my card today, was kind of that networking and relationship building. When I'm doing it on the part of an organization or a cause, I am good at recognizing where connections need to be and connecting people with each other. So that relationship isn't even dependent on me. It can become independent on its own. And so I become kind of an outside actor in that. And so, then people create their own working relationships and their own synergy. And, I don't have to actively control that.
What about, how has your definition of leadership changed since the beginning of this course?
Kind of talked about that today, or kind of did. I originally went into last semester's class thinking, I just didn't really see myself as a leader because I thought it was more of a positional and power role. But through these classes, and you've learned that kind of anybody can be a leader. You're not born a leader, but anyone can be a leader if they want to be it.
Going off what Sarah said, goes back to I guess growing up, we just assumed that people with positions were only the leaders, and I think one of the big things that I've learned is that not only do leaders lead, but followers can lead too, because everyone has strengths, and like we said, if we collaborate, then the leadership will be even better.
And going off that, I've learned that what my leadership skills may be different from yours, and they'll all somehow work out in the end. So whereas I may not be as awesome as dealing with people in the relational aspect, I can still do all the operations of getting a task done, whereas someone else would just rather focus on other participants.
This semester brought to my attention just how you can use your leadership to help the community, do service, instead of just using it in benefiting yourself.
Bienvenidos!
How did y'all's out-of-class experience pertain to leadership? What did you gain? What did you learn about leadership?
I went to one on sex education, and it was just talking about leaders in public schools and how they don't believe that sex ed should be part of public schools, and they especially talked about how Nikki Haley, our governor, thinks that public schools should not mention sex, and I just thought it was very interesting because I remember whenever I was in elementary school that we had sex ed, so I just thought it was interesting.
I heard the director of the Frazee Dream Center in Greenville speak about the work that they do with kids living in poverty. And I guess the thing that I took away from his talk was even though we all live in the same community, we have very different experiences, and he kind of challenged us to think about a lot of the assumptions that we make about what is considered normal, and just to raise our level of awareness about issues that are literally happening in our own backyards.
What did y'all learn about leadership when we went to visit?
Well, it kind of brought to my attention that leadership is very broad, and like we discussed earlier, you don't have to be in a certain position to be a leader. I was really impressed with the wide variety of things that they had, like the food bank to get families food, the daycare center to help single parent mothers who are going to school, or the class that they have for people who want to fill out job applications or get their GED. When I think of leadership, I didn't think that far into it. So that's why I learned
I thought they did an awesome job. You can tell the people they really love what they do.
Also, I thought it was cool that they like interviewed people, so that it's just not like, you know, sometimes you see people like standing on the side of the road and like need money, like out of work or whatever, and if you give them money, sometimes, like one time it's happened to me, I've given them money and then I see them like walk into a liquor store like down the street, so I thought it was very nice that they like interviewed them and made sure that they were like devoted to actually changing their life and not like wasting the time of Anderson and like Industries.
And then it just shows like how far a simple vision can take you. Like they probably just started out thinking like, okay, we can help the community,
Yeah.
like, you know, have a little facility for kids. But then they saw more and more problems and wanted to accommodate each issue.
Yeah, they integrated like all these problems. I like that they have like the child care for the kids, for the moms to go to school, or for them to work. I think that's such a good sign of leadership, I think. And it makes you think twice of the things you do and the things that you can do for the community. Not only for the community, but as a leader for the community and, you know, just for the people around you.
What are some things that maybe you'll take away from this class, moving into the next year, and maybe into the not so distant future?
I think, well, reading the Start With Why book really like hit home with me. Really been an impact on how I view leadership. That's really about like your passions and it's like more so it's not about the specifics. You can work together with other people. It's not just you, but the key component is like why you're actually doing it.
I think this program has been really beneficial. For like the first class that we've had, we got to learn all the theories, all the things that like we base our leadership off of. And this class has kind of been like self-reflection and growth in that area, determining like what we really enjoy and where we want to go with that. So for our next class, we can actually make an impact and put our purposes and visions in place.
This is the first class I take out of with 3 courses, and I really enjoyed it. I feel that it's really made me look at leadership in a different way, a different style, and make me a better leader that I am. In a sense that, you know, I need to focus on things that truly matter. And finding the root. I think that was one of the major things. That's one of the things I said about, you know, one of the things that you can take about this class is finding the root of the problem, of the issue, and addressing it in a way that it can be fixed, and not only a short-term or long-term fix.
Yeah, I think one thing I'll always take away from this class is the idea of digging deeper. You know, we talk about a certain issue and say, well, that's the problem, but really the root problem is what we're trying to get as a leader, not the quick fix or something that'll be a band-aid to the actual solution.
I think it's also helped us all grow as leaders to see, we might not see it necessarily in our Clemson bubble, but I mean, we'll be ready for it in the real world with all the isms that we learned. Because we might not have known about them, but now we do.
Yeah, it's helped me realize how much like we can be a leader every day. It's really made me realize how much we can be leaders every day. Like with the isms that we've learned about, like just in small decisions, whether it's like letting people know about those things or like making small decisions that other people wouldn't normally think of.
Well, I thought it's been interesting, no offense to me and Victor, but it's been interesting to kind of get to know you guys last semester and this semester, because I feel like I've learned so much.
I am difference maker.